Dear Melissa, I believe tremendously in the value of UX research design and how they can impact and shape product direction. How can I make the case from a financial or P&L perspective to expand the UX team when we're already heavily above capacity? Okay, so it sounds like you're a little stretched thin and you're trying to get budget to get more UX help. This always makes me a little sad because I wish people understood the importance of UX. UX is just as important as your product managers and sometimes even more important, I would even argue. Because if you can't use your product, nobody's going to use it. Right? If you make a bad product that's hard to use, like you're going to get no customers whatsoever. So I used to be a UX designer and a product manager, all rolled into one for a while until I found that those were two different disciplines. But I see them tightly intertwined. And the value of both of those things working together, product and UX, is incredible and life changing for companies. So, when you think about the value of UX, what you have to do is tie it back to how can we increase our P&L or our financial responsibilities and what's preventing us from doing that from a UX perspective. So, this is the best way to make a case. What I would do is start to do things like a churn analysis, a new customer, perspective, and try to figure out, are people leaving us because our product is really hard to use? Are people going to competitors because our UX is not as good? Are people struggling and not wanting to pay for, price increases or things like that because our UX is bad? All of these things. If you can tie it back to a reason why customers are unhappy with your service, or maybe they're not like super unhappy, it's just that you're not getting as many as you want, right? You're not growing as fast as you want, or they're like, this is just the way it is, it kind of sucks, but everything sucks in our industry. And so there's not an opportunity for you to be competitively advantaged against everything else that kind of sucks out there. You want to look for those types of reasons, and that ties it back to the P&L. So a good way that we used to do this before when we looked into UX problems, and I'll tell you right now, a lot of products out there just have massive UX problems, massive issues with usability and things like that. And changing those things unlocks so much value that it blows my mind when we get into arguments with this. So what we would do in these organizations is that you want to think of this just as you would for evaluating product strategy. You want to go out and say, well, how's our retention? Is it good or bad? If our retention is high, why? Is it because it's easy to use? Great. More ammo to show that UX is working. We need more if you want to scale, if you want to introduce new products. Is retention bad? Why? Is it a UX problem? Right there, you can start to calculate things out, like the numbers of customers leaving and the amount that their contracts were, and tie it back to UX problems. So do the research yourself like that, right? Like go and try to figure out, from this perspective, do we have a competitive advantage if we can do better UX? Are people leaving? Do we have retention problems? Do we have growth problems? Do we have new sales closures problems? Those types of things can help you really look at getting more budget for UX. If there's not an issue, because let's say you have really good UX, your team is just stretched thin, you need to start to show, though, that if you want to build more products and you want to go faster, you need more people to do it. So that's where you're going to start to outline capacity planning. You're going to look at the future roadmap. You're going to bring it back and say, hey, if you want X, Y, and Z features, we need this many more people to do that within next year or Q4, whatever you want to do, right? If you don't want us to release all three of those, then we can keep operating with the same people we do. But if you want us to go faster, this is what you need. Those types of conversations go over really well with executives. Sometimes they just don't understand the job that you're doing from a user experience perspective. They don't know how much somebody can handle. And that's why all of this gets very confusing for people who are not in product, who have never worked with UX before, never worked with engineers, when you have to go get budget from like a CFO or a CEO or somebody in that situation.